Hello guys, this is Just One Guy, and this is my tutorial series, Unity for Noobs. Now in this episode, we're still working on the multi-platform RPG project, and this is episode 6. And in this episode, what we're going to do is, we're going to instantiate a little marker anytime the player goes somewhere. So when you click on a place, it's going to instantiate a little marker, and where the player moves to it, and then the marker is going to disappear. And the purpose of the marker is to let you know where the player is going. You see it a lot in top-down RPG games. Now you can make the marker anything you want, but just for the sake of this tutorial right now, we're going to make it a cube just because that's the simplest object. Okay, first let's go into the code. Now I've made this little marker script right here. I'm not really going to bother typing this out because all it is on trigger enter function, and what on trigger enter does is whenever a person hits that particular collider, it just does something just when it first enters it. And right now we're just looking for the tag if something is tagged player, and if it's tagged player, it's going to destroy the object. But I'll go over this in a minute. Now as always, I've pre-written the code so we can just go over it real quick. The first thing we're going to need is these two variables right here, which are transforms. And the first one is going to be old marker, and the second one is, the first one is going to be marker, and the second one is going to be old marker. Now later on we're going to change this. We'll probably change both of these to private, but definitely we're going to change this one to private. But for right now, we're leaving it public just for debugging purposes. Okay, let's go in here and write it out. Public transform marker, and then our second one, public transform old marker. And this marker variable right here is going to hold our marker prefab object, and this one right here is used to destroy that marker prefab object in case we click on it somewhere else. Okay, I think that's it for that right here. Now we just have to go into this little bit of code right here. Now the first thing we want to say is if there's an old marker, destroy it, and I'll go over that in a second. But what we're doing right here is we're instantiating a marker object as a game object as soon as we click down or we touch the screen down. And then we're setting the old marker to be that object. And before we even do that, we're checking if we have an old marker. And if we have an old marker, we're going to destroy the old marker so the new marker can be created. And it's really just that simple. So let's write it out. Okay. First, we're going to go into the raycast right here, and we're going to write if old marker, and we're going to just say destroy the old marker. And since the old marker is a transform, we got to put old marker dot game object, and that's the first part of our code. Now next, this is something I had a little trouble with because it's a little bit more complicated in C#. So get the game object and we call it mark, and mark is going to equal instantiate. Let me just make sure I copy this perfectly because it's actually pretty sensitive. Marker, we're going to instantiate the marker object. The marker object is going to be a prefab. Let me see if I cast it as a game object. And it's cast as a game object since the marker up there is a transform. And what instantiate takes is it takes a object, which is in our case the marker game object, then it takes the position you want to instantiate it at, and that's the vector 3. And last, it takes a quaternion, which is the rotation that it wants to save it at. So what we want to instantiate it at is our array get point. That's going to be the vector 3 that we're going to instantiate it at. So we're just going to put array dot get point, and we're going to put array distance. Later on, we might change this a little bit because when I was testing it, it seems to kind of instantiate a little bit off the ground, but that all depends on circumstances. And right now, I'm just concerned with just doing the basics right now. And the rotation is just transform rotation. Now this is another thing we'll clean up later just to make it look a little more professional in code. But the last part is we have to cast it as a game object. So we put as game object. And that's it for that code. Now we've created our marker object. Now we just go down here and we say old marker equals mark.transform, because since this is a game object that we're instantiating, we want to get it back to a transform so the old marker can read it. And that's basically it right here. Now what we're going to do, instead of writing this code all over again and putting it into the touch functions, is we're just going to copy and paste it the easy way. And we go down here, we look for the raycast right here, and it's essentially the same, except we have to change one thing, which is that touch ray point right here. Instead of ray, we want to put touch ray since it's different. And I believe that is it. Now we just have to do a little bit of setup in Unity. Okay, now to go over this marker object. This marker object right here, just make sure if the player hits the marker, it's going to be destroyed. And we're going to put this object, we're going to put this script on the marker game object. Now I'm not going to write this out as I said before because it's just a couple of lines of code. But it just says on trigger enter, and it reads the collider, that the marker object collider, and then it says hey, if something hits this collider that's tagged player, destroy it. Not destroy it, destroy the marker itself. Okay, let's go down, open Unity. I'm just gonna wait for it to compile. Come on. And I'm gonna remove my test script right here because you shouldn't have that right there, but yeah, turn this back on. Okay, now we just have to do a little setup. First, make sure you have the player right here. Now if you don't have the tag, go to untagged right here. Now just tag it player. Now that should already be set up in your game, but if it's not, all you have to do is go right here, go to add tag, go to list of tags, and put player right here. But as a general rule, it should already be set up because Unity sets that up automatically. But just go and tag player right here, and if you don't have the tag, again, add the tag right here and then click it right here. So now our player is tagged player, and what we need is a marker object. And for the marker object, I'm just going to create a cube. Now later on we'll make this something more fancy, like a particle effect or something like that, but right now I'm just going to make it a cube, and I'm going to name this marker. And we're going to add our marker script. Now remember, when you create the marker script, put it in the scripts files. And also I created another file called prefabs right here just for organizational purposes to hold our marker object. So what you want to do is you want to go to that, if you're not going to have that folder, so create that folder within RPG games just for simplicity's sake. Then go to your marker object and just put it right here as a prefab, and then delete the marker object. Now go to the player and go to marker object, or the marker right here, and just put that right there. Now I'm getting an error because I created a new tag called player when I already had one, but it looks like that's already solved. Okay, now everything should be set up. All you have to do is go to the game, hit play, and as you can see, sorry, hit the mic by accident. Okay, something is wrong here. Let's just see what it is. Go to the marker, player is tagged. Okay, I see what I forgot. We have to go to the box collider and we have to click is trigger. I had to think about that for a second. Okay. Yeah, on the marker object, just go to the box collider and hit is trigger, because it has to be a trigger in order for use the on trigger enter function. Okay, now we click, and as you can see, the player is going to it, and they're destroying the object when they hit it. And if we click over here, you can see not only does our player follow intelligently, but you can also click multiple times. It'll never create two marker objects. And if he hits the marker object, he destroys it. And this works for a touchscreen too. I would demonstrate it on the touchscreen, but my phone's messing up right now because I forgot to hook it up before I opened Unity, and I disconnected it by accident. So that's it for today, and thank you